Well, again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're doing again what we should have done many years ago. We're letting it out of control.
Not a beautiful thing for U.S. stock markets, the week beginning with a meltdown on Wall Street, midweek seeing a historic rally as Trump paused reciprocal tariffs for 90 days, but jitters returning after confirmation that tariffs on China total 145%, Beijing now retaliating with 125% duties on U.S. goods. Get ready for your student visa or green card to be denied for posting anti-Semitic content. Immigration services have started screening X, Instagram, and other social media for anyone applying for permanent residence, student visas, or those affiliated with educational institutes. The move has alarmed advocates of free speech. Relief for the Kilmar family. The U.S. Supreme Court has ordered the Trump administration to facilitate the return of a Maryland man deported to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. No deadline was given for the return. The Trump administration has conceded that Kilmar Garcia was deported by mistake last month. The commander of the U.S. base in Greenland has been fired. The move follows Vice President J.D. Vance's controversial visit to the island. The Pentagon says the removal comes for undermining Vance and subverting President Trump's agenda. Trump has vowed to acquire Greenland. 6 people, including a pilot, have died after a tourist helicopter plunged into the Hudson River. 5 of them, 2 parents and 3 children, were Spanish citizens. The father of the family was a top executive at Siemens. Witnesses say the chopper spiraled out of control and crashed into the Jersey shoreline upside down. Investigations are ongoing. To our top story, the global market seeing one of its most chaotic weeks in modern history, seesawing wildly as President Trump's sweeping tariffs took effect. After a tumultuous 18 hours, the U.S. president shelved a majority of the reciprocal tariffs for 90 days on most countries except one, China.
U.S. President Donald Trump's on-again, off-again tariff plan has triggered a brewing trade war that continues to escalate between Beijing and Washington, threatening the global economy with catastrophic consequences. While warning that Beijing is not afraid of the challenges, China upped the ante on the Trump administration, raising tariffs to 125%, hitting back at the U.S.'s 145% tariffs. While the world breathed a sigh of relief after Trump halted his sweeping tariffs on all countries, he raised the stakes on Chinese President Xi, accusing China of disrespecting the U.S. with its retaliatory tariffs. Despite flared tensions, Trump called Xi a smart guy who wants to make a deal.
President Xi is a man who knows exactly what has to be done. He's a very smart man. He loves his country. I know that for a fact. I know him very well. And I think he's going to want to get to a deal. I think that's going to happen. We'll get a phone call at some point, and it'll be off to the races. It'll be a great thing.
Beijing has repeatedly said it is open to discussions with Washington, but Trump has made clear President Xi must be the one to make the first move, something the Chinese leader has been unwilling to do. Instead, Beijing is reaching out to other major economies, including India, the EU, Spain, among others, urging that countries need to cooperate to ride out this looming trade war. While both leaders are waiting for the other to blink, global markets continue to spiral downward amid the uncertainty, with the US dollar also falling to its weakest yet at the end of one of the most volatile weeks for shares in modern history. While countries across the globe are rushing to the dealmakers' table, will Beijing meet Washington halfway or brave this storm? Bureau Report, NDTV World.
To help make sense of the current turmoil, we're now joined by Nobel winner Abhijit Banerjee. Professor Banerjee currently teaches economics at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Banerjee. Professor Banerjee, after President Donald Trump won the elections last year, you called it a disaster for the world in one of your columns. You said the US will hit its own crisis. Is the US in crisis yet?
I think US is in crisis. It's also, as I think many people expect, it's going to be a fairly long crisis in the sense that there is a set of promises. It's not clear what exactly they will deliver, and so needs to be a moment when people just feel the pain, or or maybe it succeeds. But I think most economists expect that it won't go the way I think the president has promised, that not a lot of manufacturing will in fact start in the US. So what's going to happen, I think more that there will be, various, adjustments, possibly some concessions. But I think overall, and maybe the hope is that he will declare victory.
Okay, you said that manufacturing will not be able to keep up to speed in the US. So then the big question is, will the US hit a recession? What's your prediction on that front?
Well, again, it depends very much on what happens with the China negotiations. I think it's going to be very much a question of whether the US decides that they've got enough from this process and they declare victory fairly soon, or whether they actually continue to push on it. And I don't know which way it's going to go, actually. I would love to know the answer, but I don't.
All right, Professor Banerjee, in President Trump's first term, we saw the stock markets act as a guardrail, if you will, that kept his policies in check. But a few days ago, you saw it. It seemed like Trump pretty much ignored Wall Street, the crash that we saw, until, of course, Wednesday, where he offered some kind of temporary respite on tariffs. Does that show us that the markets will help restrain President Trump in the months ahead?
I think there's certainly a set of influential people who were very upset by what was happening in the market, and I suspect that they did have some effect. It's hard to tell. It's not insane to what the president said is there is a rationale for it, which is that you can't really move that fast to make deals. You need time. So it's not. One could imagine that he really means 90 days and there will be deals, and after, if there aren't deals, then he's going to go back to his promised tariffs. I think there is a pressure on him to make deals as he had promised, and I assume that's what he wants. Whether the deals he wants, the countries are willing to deliver, especially is China willing to deliver the deals he wants, that's a more interesting question.
All right, Professor Banerjee, let's move on to talk about the culling of nearly all USAID contracts. Your Global Research Center or lab, which works to reduce poverty, has been affected by those cuts. Now, one of the arguments for the USAID cuts is government waste. What do you have to say to those who believe that America needs to take care of its own first before helping the rest of the world, be it for, say, transgender clinics in China or, say, disaster relief elsewhere?
I think this idea that most of the money was going to transgender clinics in China, by the way, which I have entirely support personally, is really ludicrous. I think most of the money was going for purposes that most American people support, which is saving lives of PEPFAR is a Republican initiative. Americans support saving lives. Americans support feeding the hungry. Americans support saving the people in disaster situations.
All right, in your recent opinion piece, you along with your fellow Nobel laureate and wife, Esther Duflo, say that the world doesn't need the US to raise this money, like, for example, USAID. So where do you intend this money going to come from?
I think that it's a great moment for Europe to step up to the plate. I think that they have I think President Trump is right in saying Europe has sort of in some ways, surrendered its leadership in the world. It's not taken a lot of initiatives to kind of lead the world. I think it's a moment to lead the world. There is lots of It's not a lot of money. The aid money is still a drop in even Europe's economy is bigger than the US's, and it's not a huge amount of money. If they really want to get leadership, this is a way to get leadership.
And is it also time for countries like we saw in China, for example, what it did with helping with the earthquake relief in Myanmar, or India for that matter, really stepping up and claiming some of that soft power here that the US could potentially lose out on?
China is certainly doing that. China is very aware of it. It's very mindful of the fact that this is an opportunity for it. They are acting on it. It's very clear that they're mindful of the fact that you can buy soft power relatively easily, especially if the US has stepped off that plate.
So much to ask you, Professor Banerjee. Now, the Trump administration has withheld federal grants on elite US universities. Foreign students have been arrested for opinions on Gaza. As an academic, how does that play on your mind each time you walk into your classroom?
I think that there are many parts of it, and we won't have time to discuss all of it, but I'll say one thing that I think is very important. I think if America's leadership in the world comes hugely from its scientific leadership, and to the extent that that's something that's not being given the appropriate value, I think that's costly for America in the long run. I really feel that there are other things, civil liberties that I think need to be respected, but I think just from American self-interest, it is actually sort of strange to me that this wonderful and really the world's envy, the U.S. University system is being sort of thrown to the dogs.
Right.
That seems strange to me.
Yeah, worries about innovation, American innovation potentially being hit down the road. Professor Banerjee, your love for cooking is an open secret. Your recent book is part memoir, part cookbook, so changing tracks here before we let you go. What's a must-try recipe in there for our viewers from a Nobel laureate like you?
I think there's a recipe for some halim in there, which I came from one of my cousins. I've tried it many times. We still have a little bit of winter left in the US. It would be a great time to try it.
Right.
It's a winter dish.
Okay, thank you so much indeed. Gonna definitely try that from the cookbook. Professor Banerjee, Nobel laureate from MIT, joining us here. Professor Banerjee, you've said that you arrange each day with some kind of relief or interesting thing to do. So hopefully this was it, this interview today. Thanks so much for your time here on Washington Watch. In other news now, we told you earlier that President Trump shelved most tariffs. However, a blanket 25% duty he imposed on steel last month remains. I caught up with one steel importer who is feeling the pain but says Trump is doing the right thing. At this warehouse in Baltimore, coils and coils of steel. Steel here will end up in everything from kitchen sinks to fridges to cars. Steel also helps put milk on the table, a favorite of the dairy industry for high-temperature milk equipment. Such an in March, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on steel imports, a similar move that he made in his previous term. But this time he says there will be no exemptions. How does that affect you this time around?
So that would definitely impact us, especially from steel made in EU. Before EU had quotas, it was a combination of EU, Mexico, Japan, Argentina, Brazil. Now all those quotas have gone, and also there were some exclusions. Now everything coming into US will be subject to a flat 25% duty of steel. And we typically also bring in steel from domestic mills who make it locally within US. So, and wherever it is commercially viable, very difficult for us in terms of importing from EU, because that's where majority of our steel was coming from. In fact, we have more than 1,000 metric tons of stainless steel coils which came in from Italy, which are still in free zone. We did not clear from the customs. You can say it's in a limbo till there is an agreement between US and EU.
So you're hoping that the EU will strike some sort of deal?
I hope so that happens, because that's what happened back then in 2019.
Steelmakers in the US have been cheering Trump's move. For years, they've been complaining that countries like China and others in Asia have been dumping steel in the US, making them lose money.
So if you look at India, India also has the same protectionism in the country for steel imports. So I think it's a good move as long as industries don't suffer.
Sachin, how much more expensive will everyday products get? Near-term pain, is that what we're going to see?
Well, I would say there is no gain without pain. So that we all will see definitely some pain one way or another. But long term, it is good for US manufacturers.
Trump's tariffs are meant to create jobs in the US and increase domestic steel production. But skeptics say, going by what happened in 2018, that did not move the needle much. In Baltimore, for NDTV, Allister D'Souza. More than 4 years since MAGA loyalists stormed the US Capitol on January 6th, those riots of 2021. The US intelligence community is investigating possible FBI involvement. The Chief of Staff to Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, made the revelations during a confirmation hearing. Joseph Kent did not elaborate on which of the 18 US intelligence agencies is conducting the probe. Kent says FBI informants were amongst those of thousands of rioters who potentially interfered with that riot. Now, Kent was appearing before the Senate Intelligence Committee hearing on his nomination to lead the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center. I am joined now by John Rossomando. He is a commentator on U.S. national security. John, let's back up a little bit, please, here. Remind us where and how all this started. It began with that fringe conspiracy theory that later was advanced by some Republicans in Congress of FBI involvement in the Jan 6th riot?
Well, it wasn't a conspiracy theory. The FBI admitted that some of its informants were involved in the riot. And one of the things that we know about how these informants frequently operate and related to sting operations here in the U.S., they encourage people to engage in illegal conduct so that they can be rounded up later. So, there are a lot of unanswered questions here. One thing that we do know is the top floor of the FBI was very much against Donald Trump throughout his first term. You have the Crossfire Hurricane documents that are now coming to light, showing that the FBI and the CIA were involved in a conspiracy to wreck Trump's first administration.
John, if this John 6th allegation of the FBI being involved, and you said it's not a conspiracy, but a U.S. Justice Department watchdog report just in December debunked FBI involvement in the Capitol riot. The report said that FBI informants were present in D.C. on Jan 6th, that's true, but none were authorized to enter the Capitol or incite violence. So what do we make of that then?
Well, I think what you make of that is that we don't have all the information. I mean, were they did they go ahead and decide to do it on their own? I think that's something that needs to be looked into. I think that a lot of these bureaucratic reports aim to protect the people at the top, and that I think that more needs to be examined as to who incited the riot. I mean, I know one of the rioters who did time in prison, and I interviewed him, and he said that it was a protest that got out of hand. So, who threw the match? I think that's got to be the question that we need to answer.
Right, and very quickly here, but isn't it also true that Joseph Kent himself is an open Trump loyalist and has previously called the rioters political prisoners?
Well, I don't see what that has to do with anything. I think that we appoint
in terms of
people in this
raising up the issue
country
again
to,
during that
serve
confirmation hearing.
I'm just simply saying that he is, the president appoints people who are loyal to him and to his agenda. I don't, care to comment about, whether or not they were political prisoners. You had, grandmothers who were not involved in the riots, get in for trespassing and have their charges up.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people who thought that they got caught up in the riot.
Indeed. Thanks very much, John Rossomando there joining us. Appreciate you joining us and giving us your time here on Washington Watch. In other news now, Amazon is known for its super-fast deliveries. Now top boss at ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, says a similar model could be used to ship out undocumented migrants. The controversial comments come as a Maryland man was mistakenly deported recently. Disha Bakshi explains.
Could same-day deportation soon become a reality? It seems the US Immigration Department could soon implement an Amazon Prime-like approach to pick up and deport illegal immigrants from the country. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons has stoked fresh controversy, saying he wants to implement a system of trucks that round up immigrants just how Amazon delivers packages across the US. While ICE has arrested tens of thousands of illegal immigrants living in the US since January, Lyons claimed backlog in immigration courts has hindered President Trump's pledge for mass deportation. Lyons' dehumanizing comments are the latest reflection of the drastic shift in rhetoric towards immigrants in the US and has caused unease and fear among immigrants, both legal and illegal alike. The ICE director's ambitions to make the department into what he called an Amazon-like business further increases the chances of reckless deportations, with immigrants with legal status locked in the crossfire. One such case that has already come to light is of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a 29-year-old construction worker from Maryland, whose worst nightmare came true after he was mistakenly deported last month to a high-security mega prison in El Salvador.
This so-called administration error has destroyed my family's happiness, my children's innocence. Kilmar, if you can hear me, I'm still fighting for you. Your brother, your mother, our children are still fighting for you. We're not going to give up hope to the Supreme Court justice, to the right thing. History will always remember you.
While the White House called Abrego Garcia's deportation to his native country as an administrative error, it claims he's an MS-13, a US-designated terrorist organization, citing the 2019 allegation from Maryland police, and argues that the US government cannot bring back a Salvadoran national from his native country.
First of all, it was an administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member, and we believe he should stay where he is.
Abrego Garcia is at the center of a showdown between the government and the US Supreme Court, which has now said that the Trump administration must facilitate Garcia's return, but stopped short of mandating it. With no deadline given to bring back Garcia back to the US, the judgment is a victory for the Trump administration in a test on how much power the government can exert over US immigration, potentially upending access to due process for immigrants in the country. As Garcia awaits justice, the big question remains: in Trump's America, are immigrants being treated like delivery packages, tracked, boxed, and discarded? Disha Bagchi for NDTV World.
President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at making America's showers great again. Yes, you heard that right, showers in your bathroom. The order will redefine the word showerhead in federal rules, which the White House said would end the Obama-Biden war on water pressure. The move reverses environmental measures taken by the Obama and Biden administrations, which stipulated that showerheads should not pour more than 2.5 gallons per minute, including all nozzles. The order says no longer will showerheads be weak and worthless. And before we go, LeBron James is slam dunking into the Barbie world. Mattel's rolling out a brand new LeBron doll, crowning the NBA legend as the first ever ambassador. The upcoming Ken doll, modeled after the basketball star, celebrates LeBron James's contributions both on and off the court. It's going to cost you $75 for that LeBron James doll.
You can take a, oh my goodness, that's dope. That's so cool.
The Sharps half-price spring sale is now on. Get Sharps bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from bedrooms to home offices and living spaces. Many ranges are now half price, including our best-selling shaker range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means we won't be beaten on space. Plus, you get our 15-year guarantee for total peace of mind. Don't miss the Sharps half-price spring sale. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
This baby bear is terrified. Torn from her mother's paws at a tender age. They will force her to live alone in a tiny, filthy cage, like so many bears driven mad by loneliness, rubbing their wounds raw against the bars, suffering cruelly day after day, year after year, just for people's entertainment. Four Paws found little Potap crammed into a tiny, squalid cage. He'd been there for almost 9 years, lonely and isolated. There are so many more young bears who need your help. Please call 0800 038 0496 or text BEAR5 to 70800 to give £3 a month via your mobile phone. Every month, your £3 could help us free more bears. Help give bears the veterinary care they need and help them live happy, healthy lives in the freedom of our natural sanctuaries. Please call 0800 038 0496 or text BEAR5 to 70800 to give £3 a month via your mobile phone and help Four Paws free bears from agonizing torture. Please, don't leave these bears to suffer for a single day more.
At Direct Line, we know that for multi-property landlords, sometimes the tiniest of things can turn into way bigger problems. From niggly contract issues to keeping up with ever-changing legislation. That's why Direct Line's landlord insurance offers a 24/7 legal helpline as standard. Because a call with someone could help to make the hairiest of problems feel that little bit smoother. Search Direct Line Landlord Insurance. We're on it.
When you paint by feeling, you can come home to a blooming good day. Change starts here. Dulux.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together we can save more lives.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements or for some of life's big moments. Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Professional monitoring?
Activated.
This summer, leave your worries behind. Protect what matters to you with Simply Safe Home Security. Systems start from under £200 with the professional monitoring plan. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
To explain the